I'm Sir Flowbojan Thunderhammer.
And I'm Teflon Frosthammer.
And I'm Cabbage Tidehammer.
And this
is
WAK.
If Amtgard knighthood means anything, you can't knife a motherfucker and keep it.
And the thing that people need to understand essentially about arts and sciences events is that your scores don't matter.
Do you want a black phoenix or a white phoenix?
Jeez, language, man. We're on
right.
a freaking podcast, for fuck's sake.
Mind-blowing experience, right?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to WAK, where we discuss topics important to the Kingdom of Winter's Edge, interview the Amtgard community at large, talk with interesting people from around the foam fighting world. This week, we have Subway of Amtgard. Are we still allowed to say of Amtgard?
No, it's Footlong.
Subway Footlong. Okay, sorry. We have Subway Footlong on with us, and we actually have a full room today. We have all of the hammers here. We have Cabbage, and
hello.
We have Teflon.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
And we also have Vidalia here, who's working on some art for the show for us.
Just scream at the mic in its general direction.
Hi.
Yeah, that kind of got it. So, Jay, thanks so much for coming on. And I'm going to use these interchangeably because I have a hard time calling you Subway. So for everyone listening at home, Jay is Subway here. Subway, how long have you been in the game now, and how'd you get started?
20-ish. What are you doing there, Jeff?
He was thumbing
2002 is when I started.
Okay.
And you said that you started...
2003.
Yeah.
So however many, 17 years-ish? Is that right?
Yep.
I do math. I started because we were all nerds in high school. My friends, believe it or not, they were in... The Lord of the Rings was big, and they were also into Star Wars. So Crispy... Piccolo, Ryan, all my high school buds, they would do their own Star Wars fanfic film, as I guess you want to do at that stage, and they were out at the college doing lightsaber duels, and they looked across the way.
Just to be clear, none of you guys were the Star Wars kid, correct?
I was not, no. They were not.
Okay.
So they looked across, and they saw other people doing the same thing. They're like, wait, there's foam on the sticks instead of just dowel rods. That's a really good idea. Let's go ask them for other ideas. So they would go over. Turns out it was Amtgard. So from that point, I was still in Maine at the time. So they called me up and they're like, dude, you got to come down and do this thing. And I thought Amtgard was somehow tied to Winamp. And I'm like, I don't understand that at all.
I mean, no one's ever bought a Winamp license. Maybe this is how they make their money.
Yeah, so I was like, what are you guys talking about? So when I finally moved back down and they showed me, I'm like, oh, nothing as the music app. But yeah, I've been in ever since that point, so about 17-ish years.
So you would have started then on 7.0?
No, 6.0.
6.0, shit.
Because that thing was around for 10 plus years, I think.
Yeah, right. And when you started, now you were a member of Mystic Glade for quite some time, but when you started, you were not. You started with the other park, Sleeping Dragon, which we've discussed on the show before.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember about how long you were out at Sleeping Dragon before you decided to make the switch, and what kind of pushed you to do that?
I would say it'd probably be about 3-ish years.
Yeah, it should be about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, because there was the splinter of the splinter of the splinter. So like Jeff was Radiant Valley, I was Sleepy Dragon, and we knew there was a Mystic Glade, but we had never been because they were assholes, is what we were told. It was true.
It's not wrong.
You were right, yeah.
So I played at Sleepy Dragon forever and a day, and then we went over to RV in Oak Ridge. What was 30-ish minute drive difference?
Yeah, it's 25, 30 minutes, depending on where you're at.
So we did that for quite a while, and then it got to the point where we were bored, and we wanted a better challenge, I guess. And so we swung out to Mystic Glade, where you clowns were...
I think you guys hit an event of Sleeping Dragon or RV or something like that is how we found out about you guys. Or at least that's vaguely what I remember.
Yeah, because Chunk was there.
Oh man, I hate to admit this, but Chunk is the first guy who taught me any kind of footwork.
He was great.
Holy shit.
No, Chunk was great for going and talking to new people. He was wonderful for going and talking to other parks. He was just a big, goofy, fun guy to hang around.
Chunk.
You
He
know,
was annoying as all get out, but I love the man.
He was great to have at field all the time. But afterwards, you were done.
Yeah, right.
Okay, there's a story about Chunk that I want to get into later. Did he really shit in a drawer at a hotel?
Yes.
Okay, I need to hear that whole thing. I thought it was apocryphal because every time it gets told, it's like even more dramatic than the last time, and like I
No,
overfilled
you
the drawer.
covered it. He shit in the drawer. I don't
Yeah,
know.
who saw it and everything? That would be a flow story later on, I guess.
Yeah. We'll get to it. I don't want to sidetrack now, but put a pin in that.
Okay. Yeah, there wasn't streamers coming down from the ceiling. We didn't. He just dropped trowel and plopped it in the drawer.
Fuck.
so
Man, that was probably the record time of derailing, wasn't it?
I just, I think it was one of the ones I wanted to ask on Shalazar's episode, but we didn't get around to it because we had other stuff going on. So I wanted to make sure it gets into this episode. But
he would actually be a better one to tell the story, honestly.
Yeah, there is a lot more to that.
So yeah, for those that don't know, Subway's one of the people that reviews our episodes before they come out and kind of talks with us and talks shop on positive critiques and negative critiques and things like that. So going off topic wasn't my fault this time. Mark that in your book.
That is correct. That was cabbage all the way.
So
30 lashings.
So you guys were kind of big fish in a little pond out there.
Yeah, Sleepy Dragon was very, the term then was flirby. They were the last pick on the dodgeball team kind of thing.
Sure.
A lot of kids were pretty cool. They're good-hearted.
Yeah,
a lot of them were just goobers. But we were definitely not sports enthusiasts, but we were more physically fit than a lot of them were. So we quickly became big fish, little pond, went to RV where we met Jeff and them. At the time, he was only, 8?
Right, like literally 14 or 15 probably.
Yeah, like he was still, then we had to help him tie his shoes before park every day.
It was a little rough.
And then eventually I can't say we ran circles around them, but it was very few people could actually keep up. So we heard about the Glade. We went to the Glade. You guys were leaps and bounds beyond us because we still had gigantic camp pad weapons.
So I remember this is the first time that you came out and you had the football helmet shield, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about not the football helmet shield. That's a funny story. Talk to me a little bit about AmpGuard around that time, because I know that you had started making the switch over to Glade, but you weren't going out to Glade only. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a better way to say that. You were still going to Sleepy or RV or something, yeah?
Yeah, well, at that time, we were blessed with way too much AmpGuard.
Yeah.
So at that time, before I had responsibilities, before family, before any of that. So fighter practice on Wednesdays at the local college. Saturday was Sleepy Dragon. Sunday was RV. And then I think Sundays was Mystic Glade, correct?
It was, yeah.
So we would alternate between there. And at that point, most, if not all of my friends who are also not physically fit in any way, they could not keep up at the Glade. And you guys sucked. So they're like, fuck those guys. And they just stopped coming. I have a mental condition where I don't quite get it. So I just kept abusing myself by going out every single time.
Yeah. And so a lot of those friends we're still friends with them today. Mm-hmm. You know, you were talking about the fact that they were doing lightsaber battles and stuff like that. At least one of them I know actually joined the 501st. Mm-hmm. And
oh yeah, Crispy's in the 501st. He's actually, I think he's moving in, if not already, one of the leaders of this region.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, it's just a lot of paperwork.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he's a great dude. He was super gung-ho, but then they just kept having like paperwork and more paperwork and then issues. He's like, ugh, why did I do this?
Welcome to office.
I just wanted to be a stormtrooper. I don't understand.
Yeah, well, he's made that I can count like 6 different stormtrooper suits.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, he's got a million different kind of kits. Like he was into the arts and science in our game.
He was, yeah.
And, we don't award anybody for the work they do. So he said, fuck that, I'm going to go do something else that people actually credit me for. So he joined the 501st.
Yeah. And this touches back on something we've harped on quite a bit here. Brag on your friends. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just going to keep on saying it. Brag on your friends. Brag on people that aren't your friends. If you see something really cool that somebody's done, I don't care if you don't know them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go over, talk to them. It's a good way to start a conversation. Hey, man, that's a pretty cool suit of armor. That's a pretty cool bracer. Is that a new sword? Did you make it? You know, these are really good questions that can kind of spring off. And stuff like that, with the attitude that Mystic Glade had at the time, I don't think that it would have kept all of those guys in the game, but I think it would have helped.
Right.
Right. To some degree. The culture was very different back then. The focus was exceptionally different back then to what it is now.
It was.
So, and plus the park rivalries also put a lot of friction to that. So it wasn't necessarily anybody's fault.
Yeah.
But there was, oh, you're from that park? I don't like you. Like you've covered that on when you dealt with the House Hunters of the Wolf and Shell and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was very tribalistic, and the overall attitude, if I could sum it up in a Village People song, would definitely be like macho man sort of.
Yeah, which is crazy because everybody on a personal level is really cool. Everyone's mostly chill, relaxed. They have their own positives. And then you just kind of lump them into dressing funny and getting out on the field swinging foam sticks, and they become very tribalistic.
Well, this is the whole, like, none of us is as bad as all of us, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Also, kind of side note, there was 4 parks during that time that was around this area within, depending upon which one, like 30 minutes away from each other.
Yeah.
There was Pantour in Lore City. There was RV in Oak Ridge. There was Mystic Glade in Farragut.
yeah.
Yeah. Close, yeah.
And which is another part of Knoxville. And then also Sleeping Dragon, which was in a slightly different part of Knoxville. So if we were under current times, not all of those parks could exist at the same time because we were too close together. And the unique sign-ins for that would have been close to kingdom level sign-ins. It would probably be close to 50 at least unique,
Easy.
if not all the way up to the 75. Just a weird kind of thing that happened in our area. And sadly, we have not capitalized on that again.
No, but we've had a Monarchy team in for a couple of years now that have really been pushing towards that, and we have a whole lot of support from different people at the park. You know, Teflon and Beefy have really been helping out people like Cabbage and Vidalia and who else? Z and
Boop too.
Yeah, and Boop. A whole lot of other people that have just been bringing a lot of new blood into our park. I don't think we can ever get back the people that we lost, but I think that what we're doing differently now is that the older people that we have are more accepting of people that don't just want to come out and try to be a sword knight.
Absolutely. Like that's the thing that, like, looking back where we made the mistake is there was 2 reasons why RV/Mystic Glade died down to what it is now. Well, they're coming back up to now, right?
Sure.
One of them was we traveled too much. So we weren't as regular at the normal park date. So the people who, didn't get to travel, didn't have money or whatever.
Or just the people that weren't the in crowd and the cool kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't get the invite onto the bus.
Right. They didn't get to.
You. Gee, did I sound bitter when I said
I voted you off the island.
They didn't have the weekly basis, the weekly check-ins, basically, right? And 2, it was the more move to fighting overall, to ditch fighting or one-on-one fighting rather than battle games. And so this is where I think that Sleeping Dragon actually had Sleeping Dragon / RV, old school RV, had the closest to it right in the area.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, so this is something too that Imhog said on his episode. Have you gotten a chance to listen to that yet?
Nope.
It'll be coming out. Boy, this is going to be weird for listeners because in the timeline it's kind of weird, but it'll be coming out this Friday, which will be November 20-something for people listening to this in the future.
20th.
Yeah.
I should be the Christmas episode.
Yeah.
We can do that. That's on a Friday. We won't release this until Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. So
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yeah. And it hasn't even been Thanksgiving yet. But one of the things Imhog said on his episode was that now is actually kind of a peak time to grow Amped Guard on the immediate heels of COVID because people have been stuck inside. They're just playing D&D. they've been listening to D&D podcasts because, I mean, it's been almost a year. What the fuck else do people have to do?
Right.
So these are going to be people that are actually taking the opportunity to get outside now once COVID is truly over with. And those are the people we have to target. And doing battle games, doing quests, doing role play stuff is how to get them.
Yes.
One thing that's been noted is between the rise in people playing disc golf as well as the plastics being in a shortage due to COVID stuff, they're having trouble keeping discs on the shelves. So that plays into people are looking for something to do outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I may derail for just a brief moment.
We don't do that on this show.
I mean, it's your
derails.
episode, right?
Yeah, mine. It's all mine. I want to first and foremost thank all of you for this podcast. I think what you're doing, what you've done so far, what you continue to do is amazing. And I want you to at least understand the appreciation that I have. And hopefully everyone else will also appreciate, because like you said, with COVID, D&D podcasts and things like that, this helps keep the spark alive since we haven't had AmpGuard in forever.
It's the best Christmas gift I could have gotten, and it's November.
I'm not going to lie. It's kind of done it for me too. Like I haven't been involved in the earlier episodes, but like directly anyway, they did the same thing as J.O. as one of the kind of test guys to listen to things. Right. But like it refocused, because I've been pretty much absent from AmpGuard in thought space and everything. But having this brought me back, and it's got me built the walls and all kinds of other stuff too.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the guests that you've had on, I've never met, I've never spoke with, not even stared at.
Yeah.
But after listening to them, I now know what I have in common with them. I'm very comfortable just going up to them at an event and striking up a conversation.
You know, hey, I heard your episode, you know.
Yeah, I hear
blah,
you
blah,
liked blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Me too. And then just have a conversation. And I think that is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you both.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.
No, okay, so funny story with Teflon not being on the podcast up until recently.
I'm having fun watching Lauren's face, because she is the fantastic artist for all the little gooky faces.
Yeah, she's just in the corner listening, and hold up what you're working on, because this looks really cool. Can you?
Because everyone can see this, by the way.
Oh, I don't care. Listen, this is podcasting poison.
It is a screen.
Oh, it's Lyndon's.
Yeah, it's Dame Lyndon.
Yeah,
She
it's
is
fantastic.
drawing.
Boy, you suck at describing. Holy shit.
Okay. Lauren, you're on my Pictionary team.
Oh God, no! She loves
man.
Pictionary,
Subway,
and you
you're off.
can't.
Oh man.
Oh God, we're on a. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll just draw a line because we're
I
in the damn
cheat.
drift.
Who wants me on their team?
No, so okay, funny thing about Jeff not being on the podcast. Why did I steal your pen? Up until just now. So Flo and I were talking about this, and Jeff came on for an episode before, like a kind of an interstitial, like midweek episode. And Flo and I both just assumed he was coming back for the episode that was the next day. And we finished the podcast, and I was like, oh, Jeff couldn't make it. Yeah. He's like, I don't know that we invited him.
Yeah.
And he goes, I kind of want it to be a Beltline thing. And I was like, I thought it was. I think none of us invited Jeff. And we're like, I was like, Flo, we're assholes.
Yeah, we never told him the plan. We never told him the plan.
So many days I would come over and be like, oh, Jeff couldn't make it. And he's like, Yeah. No one said shit to him. So sorry, by the way.
I did say at the start of the episode, Mr. Glade is a bunch of assholes. We are.
So now around this time, topic shift. Around this time, you
one of those on the damn thing.
We don't have topic shift. We have a beep, like if somebody did a cuss.
no, it's you don't you.
We don't need
it's
that.
loud. Yeah.
Oh, okay, let me turn it down. What other buttons do we have on here? I forget what they all do.
We need a transition
No,
noise.
please don't.
This
Transition
is the perfect
noise.
time to...
No, you're gonna.
Yeah.
That's porn.
Transition music. Yeah. There
Transition.
We're going back in time.
All right,
Welcome
transition.
back to the show, everyone.
God, I hate it. Man, this is definitely WKRP now.
That's either going to be our new transition or it's the beginning of our new sex album. I'm not sure which one.
We can cut it out.
Why not both?
Yeah, right. So you have moved from going to a couple of different parks now. You're drifting into just Mystic Glade. I was a member of Mystic Glade at this time. The timeline here isn't necessarily important, but some time passes. You end up joining the Triads, which is a fighting company that that Teflon was in, you were in, I was in, and we start doing quite a bit of travel there. So you get to see a whole lot of the wider AmpGuard world.
Yeah, that's when I actively started traveling the amped world.
Yep. And some time passes there. You end up leaving the triads. Teflon ends up leaving them as well for your own personal reasons. But I want to kind of key back in on something that happens a little bit after that, because you end up forming this new fighting company. And this new fighting company, the idea is that it's just a whole bunch of friends and it's going to be silly fun times. And I know that both of you, at least one of the things that was factoring in is there was quite a bit of travel going on there, and you get kind of burnt out. I mean, we were seriously going once or twice a month, either down to Florida or over to Colorado or Texas, or
rising winds occasionally too.
Yeah, rising winds.
I mean, like we literally went nearly every kingdom at the time, except for the Texas kingdoms for whatever reason.
They were mean.
Well, that was about every 2 years.
Yeah.
But so this then, like you had been on what I'm going to call a very serious side of AmpGuard. This was kind of the late 90s, early aughts was the golden age for the fighting companies. All of the fighting company events were out there that we were going to. There was a huge focus on fighting companies and got to be the best and got to beat up everyone else. And unfortunately, what comes with that is a lot of really bad attitudes. It doesn't have to, but I've never seen it not when in mass, right? This goes back to the whole thing of having 1, 2, 3 people having a local fighting company at your park. It might have been okay there. But then when you get all of them together, it's this ego contest.
Flo likes to call it the attitude era of AmpGuard.
I do. I call it the attitude era.
Oh man, that's right.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
And so you guys, in the midst of all of this, create a fighting company, and the idea is just to have fun, and it really goes against the norm that's going on there. Talk to me a little bit about that time and what was going on and who all was involved in this.
All right, so it actually started before that. So with the Baganagas. It's a great name. Nick came up with the name because he really didn't understand how words worked. When we were trying to come up with fighting company names, he just started spouting off noises.
Wasn't he naming like weapons from one of like the Dreamcast games or something?
Yeah.
He couldn't pronounce like baracas or something like
exactly.
that.
Exactly. And he's like, no. Like, sure, buddy. That's what we'll call ourselves. So this all stemmed back. So back in the Sleepy Dragon days, I had a fighting company with all my high school friends.
Sure.
We were not good.
By the way, Jay had spider legs, like, was it Coolio?
Coolio.
Yeah, during this time.
Yep. More specifically, Twisted from
that makes sense.
The ICP crew. Yeah, I was awesome. But we had our fighting company. Sleepy Dragon was super into battle games. So fighting was not even in our fighting thing. We were all mages of some kind. It was pathetic, but we loved it. Mm-hmm. From there, some of the other kids, my brother played with me. He is 5 years younger. PBD, you guys talked about him.
Yeah.
And you got his arrow story incorrect.
Oh, we'll have to get...
Yeah.
We should have him on. We should have him on to correct it.
Yes. And I need to correct Jeff on so many other stories. You should definitely, anytime you ask, hey, how did that happen? Talk to the person that was there or did it. Because there's always details missing. He's almost correct on most of it, but missing. So these kids were there, 5 years my younger, so he started making friends in the game. And these kids had actual talent, where we're just like, oh, you dress funny and they were in shape, they were dedicated. So I thought, let's pull them. Like, we would travel to all of the same events, but we weren't ever unified, but they would fight together.
Right.
So we brought them all together. We called ourselves the Baganagas. And we then started to compete because the attitude era, as you said, we would travel with the triads. We had jugging. We'd go up to Kentucky. Winter War, back when it was an AmpGuard event.
Yeah.
And we would actually compete. And because they were all kids, they were 14, 15. I was 22-ish, like I was early 20s. That I'm not going to crack the whip on children. So we're like, hey guys, this is a great game. Let's just go have fun.
Right.
But they were good. So they were beating actual fighting companies, like or the Dragon Hounds or whatever they're called.
I was hoping we'd get there.
Yeah, those guys. So, or mostly just Onyx, the other, and Juicy. But the other guys seemed okay. From that point, they grew up. So, and like Jeff was a part of it. Like they would just all run. They were all still in high school after high school.
I was like round 2, basically.
Yeah. So, but like we were all hanging out and doing stuff. At that point, I had broke up with them to go to the Triads because you guys talked about this on a previous episode where they don't poach others, which is hilarious because
Yeah, I thought so too, right?
yeah, they go to you and like, all right, we noticed you're in a fighting company. We won't take you if you're in a fighting company.
Wink.
And then they just stare at you like, oh, okay. You just take your pants off. You're like, I'm not in that fighting company anymore. They're like, all right, good. Here's your new pants. Like, oh yeah, somehow that's not poaching. Sure. So that's what happened. They weren't.
It's the spirit of the rule.
Yeah. So that's what happened.
No, that's the letter of the rule on that one.
So same thing like with Jeff, because at that point you had fighting households. So like Jeff was in the SOR.
Yeah.
And which was just like the farm team for the Triads.
We should bring that back, man.
It's too bad. Like I want to, but it's really Zeb that's going to keep us back from that one.
You know, I don't know that he will. I don't think he'd care. I think he'd be excited if we wanted to do something with it. I just don't think that he wants to be the one leading it anymore.
Yeah, I mean that's
No, I say I'll put $1. I say no. He'd frown at it. But so with that, I dropped the Boganagas to join the Triad or be able to be picked up by the Triads.
Right,
And it just so worked out that they did pick you up.
Because we don't poach.
Well, it still took a little while because they had their own internal strife, which I was not aware of at the time. So I'm like, yay, I'm going to get into the Triads this event. And then it never happened. And then the next event, it didn't happen. I'm like, huh, okay, whatever. And then out of nowhere, they just threw me a little garbage bag of garb. Like, hey, do you want in? Thump. Cool. But the kids were like, what are we going to do? You're our leader, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you just keep having fun doing your thing. So they did. And then they grew up. So off to college they go. Most of them turned into amazing human beings. Steven.
Dude, he's like in Texas doing like big things.
Yeah, like he's accredited with, I can't say the words that he's a part of right now.
Yeah, I know, right? Like I'm friends with him on Facebook and I catch like random bits. I'm like, that's smart words. I know that much.
Yeah, like the state will acknowledge him as like the top person in the state it's just insane.
Steven was one of the twins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then just other stuff like Cup went on to do physical therapy. Of course, he's married now. He has a kid.
Yep.
Hal, he went into engineering, I believe.
I think he's teaching currently, though.
Currently, but still, like, even Mantis, if you remember him, like, he went into...
Dude, so Mantis, like, started out as a materials engineer at... one of the Ivy League ones in Massachusetts. Which one?
It was MIT.
MIT, yeah. He went to MIT for that, and then he had, like... so many extracurricular junk that he was doing with computers that he had just decided to switch majors, and now he's in fucking California working for like Facebook or some shit.
Yeah, I stopped talking to all of them because I just felt bad about myself. Because like I had nothing. Like, yeah, I work at the 7-Eleven.
It's fun though. For anyone that's younger in Amp Guard, you're going to have stories like this at some point too. All of these people that you know will move. Some portion of them will move on. The majority of them will move on. You've talked about this before, Subway, but there seems to be a shelf life for amp guarders. Mm-hmm. And so somewhere around the 2 to 4 year mark, you have people that drop out. And then the ones that don't drop out are usually in for life. And just because they dropped out doesn't mean they won't be back.
Right. A lot of that comes from the group. So once you find that quote unquote family dynamic, it keeps you around. And so for them, they had that unifying, like, we are here doing this thing together. But then once they bonded, once something becomes tiring, then you can still take that group and then go do something else. And the group stays the same, but the hobby changes.
Yeah, like I'm actually playing disc golf more regularly now again with Cup and Matt Howell, and your brother some too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because again, they are physically active. They are in shape. They run circles around all of us. So after that, joined the triads, did all that kind of stuff, cut the triads, and then I went ahead and at that point they were back from college. And they were like, hey, I remember this game. They're like, yeah, here's the new tech. Here's the new stuff. They're like, we like this. They started playing. I'm like, let's just bring the band back together. So,
that's why I was round 2, because that's when I came in.
Yeah. So like Jeff was always the unofficial Baganaga. But at that stage, we brought it together and it was the exact same crew as it was before. And at that stage, they wanted to be more competitive. So like, okay, to do that, we have to travel. We have to hit events. This is what is required. And they're like, yeah, okay. Like, all right, we're going to need to expand because we can't cut it on you guys because they're college frat boys, essentially. They can't keep anything together longer than it's just bad. So I was like, all right, let's start recruiting. So we got Darko.
Yep.
We got Teflon.
Yep.
We got Gator.
Man, I forgot.
Yeah, that was awesome. He's my favorite. He's the mascot.
So good.
Well, the way he lucked in, so we have a symbol. So all of the kids, because to them, that's what brought them together. Mm-hmm. They got tattoos.
Yeah.
Gator was just there. He's like, okay, I'll take one. So he just got a tattoo. He was never part of the group, wasn't in the company. He just like, yeah, I like that. Boop.
That's a bold way to join a fighting company. I'm getting a Seraphim tattoo tomorrow.
So just your whole back.
Kazan, you gotta let me in. Look,
I got my wings.
So from there, we all like Xander and stuff like that. I was also at that point for those of you who don't know, I am an asshole. I'm elitist, and I cause problems when it comes to viewpoints. So with that, again, companies don't poach. So when I started my company back up, I'm like, we will poach the shit out of anything. So I would actively go to because Donnie was in the Seraphim. So I pitched hard. I'm like, hey man, you should come over here. He's like, I don't know. No, you do. We're better. He's like, okay. Like, yeah, we got Donnie. Then same thing, at that point, Jarek. So he was my page man at arms at that point. So he was being scouted by the Seraphim and all that kind of stuff. And I was always open and honest with hey guys, here are the main fighting companies. There's the Triads, there's the Seraphim, and then there's us. So with Jarek, you're down with them. They're all your friends. They want you in. If that's what you want to do, hands down, that's what you should do.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, yeah, but I'll try it with you guys. I want to hang with you guys. We're like, okay, cool. So same thing with Xander, because he was being scouted by the Triads. So we gave him the spiel of the Triads are on your nuts hard right now. Go, hang out, do whatever you want. And if you decide you want to join us, you're more than welcome to. So he did. He joined us, made everybody mad. But I had no problem with that because we don't poach. I will go straight up I want you in my company. Do you want in my company? Welcome to the company.
And Xander just recently, he plays Beldag now, just recently got his knighthood, didn't he?
Yeah, a little while ago, yeah.
Yeah. Good on him if you're listening to this, Xander.
You mean his knighthood in Bell or Dag?
In Bell or Dag, right.
I was like, how did I fucking miss that? But that makes more sense.
No, he did a lot of revolutionary work on the way that they approach tournaments and things like that was my understanding.
Yeah, he put in some mad work there.
So if you're one of the 25 to 40 people that normally listen to our podcast, good on you.
I'll send this to Xander. He's in Florida now.
Oh, is he? Mm-hmm. Good on him. So for those that are listening, you can tell we've all known each other for a long time. I kind of wanted to walk down your early days in AmpGuard because you have a somewhat unique perspective here. You got to see a lot of the stories that we've been telling from, at least for some portion of it, what I'll call the outside. when we first met you weren't one of the in kids.
Yeah,
right?
I was on the outskirts.
And so this is another thing that as I look back on it as an adult, I'm ashamed of the way that we kind of push people out then.
Elitists.
It was. And it's one of those things that unfortunately I don't think that you can tell someone not to do it. I think they just have to experience it and learn.
Well, because at that point we were young, like early 20s, mid 20s, some of the older folks, maybe 30s at most, but those were our elders that were wise.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, everyone was a reject in high school. Like no one started the game as a well-balanced, cool individual.
Right.
Everybody had a social problem. And so you just wanted to be accepted. So now in this goofy game of fireballs and dressing funny, it's a weird way to compete. And so in the beginning with Sleepy Dragon, I too, as I covered, I'm an elitist. I want to make that clear.
What is the there's a couple of Amthgard TikToks, and one of them's like, you have to stop pretending that being a sword knight makes you cool. And it just repeats that on a loop.
Yeah. My stance on Amthgard, everything is the magical world of make-believe. No matter who you are, what you've done, like it might be cool, but it's still fictitious.
Right.
So, but I've always had the competitive aspect. I've always wanted to flex and do stuff like that. So when we started at Sleepy Dragon, they did battle games nonstop. And at that point, loved it. So starting out at level 1 compared to at that time with 6.0, the 1 to 10 balance was
never really followed, but all the magic classes were busted.
Yeah, like Wizard was 1 to 25, really, if you played
right.
well.
Technically, like I think all of them were 1 to 10, and bows were 1 to 5 or something like that.
Yep.
And then you were supposed to kind of balance your games that way, but it was horrible game design.
Yeah, I mean, for people that weren't around in the 6.0 rulebook era, what they're referring to is that your magic classes, anyone on the field that had a bow, there was a person-to-person ratio. Like if you had one mage,
if you had 10, this is the best way to describe this is if you had 10 people on the field for your team, you could have one of each magic class, 2 bows, and the rest of them didn't matter.
Right.
Correct. And they didn't follow that rule at all, which is completely fine. But there would be like 7 wizards, 5 healers, 2 warriors, and that was the game.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, you could call lightning down on every single person on the other team if you weren't at a big park, and that was the whole battle game.
Yep.
The things were
I
balanced.
know nothing of this.
Yeah, right.
I know that guy.
Things were balanced around a lot of our big kingdoms at that point. Burning Lands, 100+ people on the field.
Yeah.
We also had life counts, so that made a big deal at that point too.
Yeah. You would shatter out and then... Oh, because also, too, we had the death count at the full 5 minutes.
Right, and then each class had different amount of lives and stuff like that too, just as kind of an aside.
Yeah, so it was the good old days. I love them. That was still my favorite. But yeah, so I would go in as the quote-unquote underdog at level 1, where levels matter. When you're only playing class games, that's the only thing that matters. And I chose Bard because there was 2 bards that had hit our park at that point. One I never met, Lucius. He had already moved on at that point.
Dude, that guy is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, and I hate it. I missed him. Everyone says such good things.
I only barely saw him, and it was really magical, to be perfectly honest. He was a really cool dude overall, and he was really skilled at the game at the time.
Yep, every story was great. The other bard was Aaron, who, nice enough, but he was definitely into the flavor of the class. So he would just prance around with a tambourine and sing songs.
I mean, she now anyway, but she understood them, but was definitely more for the flavor, because later on during RV, she would make lists that were more competitive and would be better off that way, but still sided a little closer to the flavor of things.
Yeah. So when I had met her at Sleepy Dragon. So at that point, it was very flavorful because we would have like persona quests and things like that where you'd have a character.
Man, honestly, I wish we could recreate Persona Wars in that time period.
Yes. Well, minus the rape, but yeah.
So
Jesus God.
It was a dark.
You can't just lay that one down and not go into it a little
you did.
bit.
They're like, oh, Jay voted women out of Amp. Moving on.
Yeah, we did that before we agreed to have you on. So Michael Hammer of God mentioned this, and I thought that I wanted to touch base with you on it too, because you brought up the Persona Wars. Again, for the audience here, one of the things that the other park that Sleeping Dragon did that was really cool was this huge roleplay arc where it was you had your persona and you were kind of making and breaking alliances in real time, and there was stuff going on. And
didn't your life count only for that game too? So like if it was 4 months long and I was a warrior and I had 5 lives, I think to start off with, I had only 5 lives during the Persona Wars time frame, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so you end up in this situation. This is why I wanted to bring in Michael Hammer of God here. He mentioned things like that from his kingdom. It wasn't the exact same thing, but the fact that having that life count there and having this kind of persistent thing in the background really encouraged non-fighting solutions to some of the thing. It encouraged role play. It encouraged, for the people that were more interested in saying, oh, we could fight, and some of my men will die, some of your men will die, but we could also try to broker a deal here.
It gave consequences. But the problem is like with our game now, or even then, because it wasn't balanced great with the other classes, those consequences were hard on new players, though.
Yes, and so I always liked the challenge. So being level 1.
Yeah, like Barbarian had 3 lives at level 1. It was terrible. Whereas I think Warrior started at 5 and most of the others were at 4. So like, if you were a level 1 Barbarian, good luck playing the game. You had about 15 minutes total that you'd be able to play, and then about 10 of them are probably dead.
Yep, and then you were done.
Yeah.
And so while all of this is going on, because this is about when you join Cabbage, you come in when Sleepy Dragon is doing their thing. Mystic Glade at the time we've drawn our line in the sand, and we don't like these people and they don't like us, and here's all of our reasons, and we're going to be the super fighty people. And it was weird too because Mystic Glade did nothing but battle game at that point too. Like we wanted to be one of the best battle game parks, but it was much more of the uber competitive battle game style.
Well, when I came in, Mystic Glade battle gamed, but it may as well have been militia. Like there were classes, but everybody was a warrior or a barbarian.
Yeah, so sure. As I understand it, like Flo's talking correct, like they did battle game a lot, and at one point they did a lot of class games, and they played healers and wizards and everything too. We just got in, like a year or two after all of that, I think.
A lot of the issue there was, as you said, the competitive aspect, in the sense of Sleepy Dragon. I always has this special place in my heart because of how horrible it was, but it's what I grew up with in the game, that I will defend it to some degree. But they were a freehold / shire under Burning Lands, because after the split, they weren't a part of a normal kingdom. They just did.
Didn't at one point they got a contract through Golden Vale as well?
Yes, that's right. So then they had petition they got through under Golden Vale, which was nowhere close to us. But at that point, we did not travel. The farthest they would travel would be for Winter War. Like Winter War was the big event in Kentucky for us, and that was really it. They would hold their own events, but they were 50 plus people. So.
Man, I miss like local events having a place where you go to actually camp out. Yeah. Like that kind of culture. I miss that part of older Amtgard.
I don't, but
see, I replaced that for a time with music festivals where it's the same thing. You camp on the ground.
Enough. Yeah.
And I miss it too. Like I enjoy it quite a bit.
So what happened when we started meshing with Mystic Glade was quote unquote cultured. They had travel. They had Neverwinter as a kingdom that they would travel regularly. We had people who knew what they were doing was shall, reading, really just being able to read. And so when we would play, Sleepy Dragon was a park of roughly 30 to 50 people that were there for the fun of a game, not necessarily amped guard. That was just the foundation. They would do things as make up their own classes, mix their own classes, come up with just brand new rules, and
use races, like traditional fantasy races and things like that.
They would pull
in the year 2020. That's dodgy.
Species.
No, D&D did change their name, didn't they?
No, it was Pathfinder, I think. D&D may have as well, but Pathfinder made them heritages or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did they?
It's happening in D&D as well. Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. The species.
I still wouldn't approach that with a 20-foot fucking pole, man.
So, but regardless, they took a lot of liberty to what they were doing, which at the time bothered me because I'm quote unquote the pure. Like, you give me the rule book, I have to know the rules.
Yeah, I kind of fell into that too. Like, it bothered me a lot.
Well, and it bothered the people out at Mystic Glade. It bothered the people out of Mystic Glade for a reason that you may not think, though. So we've talked about everybody there really being jerks and uber competitive and stuff, and all of those things are true. But, people aren't that one-dimensional, right? And so it bothered the people out at Mystic Glade quite a bit because a lot of I being 3 or 4 years older than you, were like, those poor kids, because the park did go to some events. We saw you at Winter War every year. We actually saw you at what was the big event that Goldenvale ran?
Great Eastern.
Great Eastern.
Actually, that's where Lexi met Flo the very first time, and it was a fantastic story to go along with Mystic Gladers were assholes at the time.
I was apparently an asshole.
Yeah, she's
no
like,
parent, you are.
she's ditching, and it's just a muddy mess because I'm pretty sure it was raining before or something like that, right?
It was pretty horrible, yeah.
And I'm guessing, knowing Flo now, Flo has already been asked a ton of questions for one random reason or another, and his feet are wet, so he's angry about that and everything. And so
I don't like my feet getting wet.
Yeah, I don't either, to be honest. I would be in the same situation.
Flo in the shower is just like, motherfucker, shit, fuck.
No, that's okay because it's warm water.
Right. So they're fighting, and Flo, being a better fighter at the time anyway.
Man, just shots fired over here.
Gets asked, where is he from? He's a good fighter or something along those lines. And he says Knoxville, Tennessee. And Lexi, being from Oak Ridge, is 20 minutes away, was like, wait, where are you from? And Flo gave like I've already been over this. I'm not going to answer that, or something like that.
Yeah.
Sounds
so
about right.
Jerk at the time.
So my first experience with Flo.
Oh no.
Yeah. So again, old tech, huge camp pad weapon. And
are these the hammers?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. This was the Toronto Gush, the huge shield that he.
Oh man, is that the one that Lawwell used to use, or is that a different one? That's a different one. Damn it. Yeah.
Sorry, no, Lawwell stuff was completely different. His was a basketball return.
Yeah, I remember what it was made out of, and it was really cool. I just didn't remember which shield this was.
Yeah, no, this was so. Sorry, everyone, this is very incoherent. The way it worked was a lot of the rivalry. Mystic Glade knew what was going on. Amtgard as a whole. Sleepy Dragon was an island of itself that was not exposed to a whole lot. So we were the land that time forgot.
Yeah.
From there, when I say giant camp pad weapons, I mean giant camp pad PVC core, easily 6 inches thick on all sides half the time.
Jesus.
Yeah. Because
duct tape covers.
Yep. That was the thing at the time. So Mystic Glade, having real equipment, just kind of scoffed. Well, when I started playing, that football helmet shield, which was not a football helmet, it was a crescent moon with a smile that Flo couldn't understand.
It looked, so it was if you look at a side profile of a football helmet, that is what it looked like. No one will ever convince me otherwise.
He's not wrong, but it wasn't what it was supposed to be. That was my very first shield. Shields were hard to come by. You could get PVC, you could get camp pads, so weapons were aplenty. Shields, who knew what to do with them?
Yeah, the modern foam, the plank foam that we use, we kind of take for granted, but it used to be really hard to get.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was, at least whenever I got equipment. We had sled shields, and those were hard to come by for some reason or another, and they were the best tech we had at the time.
Yeah. I
because
mean,
it doesn't
like
snow here.
Yeah, living in the South, how often do they sell sleds?
They were also better conditioned than the ones that you can get a hold of now. Like they were much thicker. They were actually, probably sleddable compared to the ones that are now.
that are really flimsy. Yeah. I mean, like Cabbage was saying there, for those listening, for the younger amp guarders listening, again, this was around 2000. We didn't have any of the solid foam block shields.
To be fair, that stuff's still hard to get. It's just enough people have figured out where they can go to do a bulk order that we have some surplus floating around.
You have the internet.
well,
we didn't have
But you have to
internet.
buy it. Like this is like the carbon fiber tubes that we're ordering, where you have to do it in bulk. You have to get 5 people to go in because the shipping on it is astronomical. And so it's like you have to get 5 or 6 of your friends to really be willing to pay $30 to get a shield.
Oh, I remember when we first found out about the big shield foam that everybody uses now, right? And all of us went in on an order, and it was astronomical shipping. And we I think
Shalazar went and got it, didn't he?
Yeah, in his big truck. He went and picked it up.
Yeah, because we had like 6 full sheets, I want to say, or
did.
something ridiculous
I think it was
like
pudding,
that.
actually.
Was it pudding? Maybe it was the both of them or something.
Yeah,
Because
like
maybe
their
Shalazar went and
powers
got
combined.
it from Cookville and brought it down here or something like that.
But yeah, so this was in this era, if you wanted to do shields, you had a couple of different options. The absolute best option that you could do was wait until winter and hope that they had one of the round, like disc sledding shields, right? And then that was like your top level gear. That was, you had one of those, you were the elite of the elite. But they were hard to come by, especially in Knoxville, Tennessee. And a lot of our friends lived in Florida, so it was worse.
Well, and they were kind of heavy and they cracked.
Yeah, they were heavy. They cracked, especially in the later years when we could only get the thinner ones. They cracked a lot.
Yeah.
Outside of that, your options were things like plywood, 1/2-inch plywood or something like that.
If you were me, for a time, it was stolen stop sign.
Yeah, I remember that. So mine, that was, because I won't be derailed, you mother.
Yeah, please.
Mine was a trash can lid.
Oh, yeah.
So it only was as wide as my forearm, essentially. But I was very proud of it. But there was maybe the 3rd shield at our park at that point. So I went to Mystic Glade for one of the first times. Flo makes fun of it. He can't figure out what's on my shield. The cover was strictly duct tape and electrical tape.
I remember.
I worked very hard on that.
I'm proud of you.
And so at that point, their shields are the plank foam, their shield covers, applique. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
what is this? They're like, oh, it's foam. Well, okay. I don't know any better. I hear foam, so I go, okay, big sheets of foam. So I go to Joann's and I get the
Couch
memory
foam.
foam.
Yeah.
And at this point, I don't quite understand the square footage rule here. So what I think I'm trying to do a max medium shield, I make a max large.
You just come out with a bed, basically.
Yeah. And so it's this giant mattress foam. Like, I think this is awesome because I'm like, okay, this is gigantic. I've made it. I used spray adhesive to get a cloth cover. I'm one of the big boys now. So I go, Flo, who everyone else looks very serious. Flo is in eye chart garb. So I go, he has more of a mental handicap than most of the others. I'll talk to him. So like, let's spar. I want to try my new shield. So he's Florentine. We line up and he goes, whop, takes my shoulder. The board just tacos completely. There is no rigidity. It's just a couch. Very thin, maybe not even like 2 inches thick. Flo goes, oh my God. And then he does it again. We're not fighting. He's just doing this at me.
This is peak Flo.
He's like, is that memory foam? I go, well, yes. He turns and shouts, hey guys, look at this. And then proceeds to continue hit me in the shoulder. Everyone has a good laugh.
Oh, man.
Flo's an asshole. So that's how I met Flo.
It's funny too. Apparently everyone has stories of when they first met me back in the day. I was a total jerk to them. Tie-dye had one.
You were the nice triad at the time.
I was. I still hold all of the nice guy triad cards.
Nope.
I don't think that's true anymore. I think
Who else is going to get them?
Jeff stole one.
I had one at one point.
You did, but then you left the company, and guess who?
I didn't turn it in.
Yeah, he still has it.
It's in my house.
There always has to be 4, and it went back to me.
I think Beefy has most of them, but
Oh.
Tamlin may have one.
No, Beefy doesn't. Beefy doesn't have any after what he did to one of the Sleepy Dragon guys.
Oh, I forgot about that at one of the Winter Wars. I think, right? Yeah,
it was.
I love it when we all talk about the story like everyone here knows about it.
Yeah. So he murdered a kid.
Oh, that sounds like Beefy. No. What?
Yeah. So with the shield foam and so
No, tell the shield foam story. We'll come back.
no, just that. So that was how I met you. You were very jovial. You were very nice. But from an outsider's perspective, like you said, I'm on the outskirts. I'm not one of the cool boy. I'm imitating as best I can to try to get into everyone's good graces. And you essentially pants me in front of everybody. Thank you, Flo.
I remember the eye chart garb. This was this actually had eye charts that look like, if you could picture them like playing cards that you're just dropping on a table and they land at different angles. It was all eye charts the whole way through that were just falling at random angles. And it said, starting from the I and then the 2 letters and then 4 letters, it said, I love quilting and sewing.
Yep.
All the way across it.
I didn't
Was that
realize.
Joanne's special?
Yeah, I
was.
didn't realize it had the print on it. I just saw it and said it was eye chart garb, and I never paid attention to details.
Yeah, so I did a thing back then where I thought that everybody took themselves way too seriously. And
they do.
So, and I think that probably I did too, but not with my garb. I did themed garb. So for Halloween, I had pumpkins all over it. Mm-hmm. For Christmas, I had one with elves with lollipops and stuff like that. For Easter, I did one that was scrambled eggs everywhere.
You were our inspiration for most of the early days.
I made it a challenge to try and frustrate some of the people at my park with the zany garb that I wore, because they were not into doing
It 100% worked on at least one particular fellow.
Yeah, right.
There were rules in your household and fighting company that were specifically waged at you.
Yes, that you had to have like solid color garb. You couldn't do any kind of print garb or anything
Passersby
like that.
had to have thought you were just the coolest pediatrician and with a bunch of cancer kids, because all garb looks like scrubs.
Oh, that's so nice. He's out there playing with those other gentlemen.
Those sickly children. Oh, that's sweet.
So,
No. Hold on. I want to get back to Beefy killing a guy. What? Okay. We can't just.
Okay, I'm on it. Relax. All right, so Beefy killed this kid.
the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That story sucks shit.
Okay.
Tell it better.
We're at this winter. So Beefy, not Tamlin, but that guy's a jerk.
No, this might be Tamlin in this case.
No, this was Beefy because it's. We'll get to that in just a sec.
This is specific to this Winter War event. Was my very first event as a triad. This was where they threw the garbage bag at me and said, "Dress yourself." So this particular Winter War was fantastic.
I love the way they had it set up.
There was however many games, and you were competing as a company of X number of people. Can't remember how much, but you would rotate. There were 2 circles, an inner circle and an outer circle. And as you would rotate, you'd be facing other teams in individual games. So you were and they would go for 20 or 30 minutes and then whistle blow, and then you'd switch to a different game.
Yeah, so as an example here, you might have one where it's like a traditional general's battle, which if your park hasn't done that, you have one person who is a general. They have 1 point of sectional armor, invisible sectional armor all over them, and they're the only person that matters on the field in terms of scoring points. Everyone else can die and come back to life. Who cares? If you kill the general, your team gets 1 point and you reset.
Yep.
Or a bridge battle where it's just regular militia, arrows, projectiles, and armor, but nothing else counts, and you have to get over to the other side of the bridge and, I don't know, ding the bell or something.
Yeah.
And so one of the battles was I don't know what their name for it was, but we called it the Pokemon battle. Mm-hmm. And we called it the Pokemon battle because the way that this was set up is our side would put forth our champion, and the other side would then say, well, okay, we're going to send out so-and-so. And if the other side lost, and let's say Subway was the one who was our champion at the time, then they could say, well, who has a weapon combination or the skill that might be able to beat Subway? Like if Subway was Florentine and they had someone with a polearm, maybe they send in the person with the polearm because they're going to have a little bit of an advantage over the Florentiner, right? So pick up now. We're doing the Pokemon battle part of this one. And who do we draw in the Pokemon battle but Sleeping Dragon, the other park in Knoxville?
Yes. So at this point, there's a lot of bad feelings, a lot of aggravation over the years. So our first champion, because it was 6 people per team, like a basic Pokemon team, Beefy. He's our first pick, and he is Slim Jim, which is a small pole down with a shield buckler, essentially.
It's still a combination I've only ever seen him really pull off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's up, and the skill level between the two parks is huge. Not in like a boo on them, it's just that large.
Yeah.
And Beefy at this stage, especially Beefy even now, Slim Jim is one of the top fighters in our kingdom.
Yes.
So he goes up and he wrecks their entire team just over and over and over and over again. Yep. So like they actually go through multiple rounds of he beats their 6, they line up again, he beats their 6 again, over and over. One of their people he's been a problem child for years anyway, just not taking shots, just throwing dangerously. He fought polearm, and it was not constructed well. It was essentially a tree limb that he just taped minor bits of foam to, and he thought that was okay. Yeah. And then he would baseball swing or just joust at people, and it was a problem. Well, Beefy was fighting him in particular, this however many times in, and he just was not taking shots at all. Like Beefy was very kind. He's like, whop, whop. Oh, okay, whop, whop, whop. And that's when I became the first nice triad of my career. Beefy turned to me and said, hold this, and gave me the nice guy card. Turned around, and he beat that child all the way to the ground, stepped on him, over him to get to the next fighter, and left him.
And to be clear, the way that this played out, again, picture a polearm that Beefy's about 6 feet tall. The polearm was about 6.5-ish feet tall, and he's got both arms on it, right? And the buckler here covering one of the arms, right? So he uses his leverage that he the power that he gets from both of his arms in the turning motion, sweeps the kid's feet out from underneath him, flips the pole around in air so that he's holding it like a club that you're about to bash a baby seal with, and brings it down as the guy is still in air. I know that this sounds like a bad Matrix movie or that I'm misremembering.
It was beautiful.
This is what happened. He sweeps it, and while the kid is vertical in air, he brings this down and just bounces him off the ground with it, and then steps on and over him to go kill the next person.
Yep. Never been more proud.
I mean,
so Mystic Glade were jerks. Made good people do bad things.
Yeah, they were such good times. Not
did you
condoning now.
Did you have physical, actual, like you say, nice guy cards? Were these physical cards that you held on your person?
That's a need to know basis.
Yeah.
If you were you in the? No.
No. Fuck. Look at me. Look at the shape of my body.
Need to know.
But
okay, well, I tried for our listeners, and now you can ask. Hey, go to any triad that you see and ask them about the nice guy cards. They're totally cool about it.
Huh? Is the email still up? You can email blueandtan.org and ask questions. I think you should totally do that, listeners.
It's still active.
I am sure whoever currently controls that email appreciates that.
It's fucking Zap.
Like we know.
So we talk about this story and we're all laughing about it. And obviously this goes back to something that I said very early on. It's great to kind of take this trip down memory lane and remember some of the things that we did. And obviously, this is something that I would never condone nowadays. Beefy would have been banned if something like that had happened. It's the sort of thing that I'm kind of ashamed, part of me is ashamed of, that because you don't treat other people that way. That's not how I want to play this game. But again, Attitude Era, different world, different Amtgard world at the time, a lot different standards. The rules were kind of made by a might makes right system. And I think that in the like mid to late aughts, when we saw Amtgard parks shrink down to almost nothing, game wide, all of the parks were getting smaller, and Dag and Bell were starting to pick up people. A lot of the lightest touch LARPs were starting to pick up people. I remember having a conversation with some of the knights out in Iron Mountains, Sir Thor and Sir Guy, about the fact that we should be embarrassed that pay-to-play LARPs are taking some of our members away because they're offering a better experience, even if they have to pay hundreds of dollars to join. Like, that should be a point of huge embarrassment for us. But it was because the rules were being set by the best fighters, not the people that had the best interest of the game at heart.
Yes, and that's going, again, back to me being on the outskirts trying to get in, feeds into that. So seeing that, even though it was not spoken aloud or in writing, you can pick up on the social cues. So I see, oh, that guy just murdered that guy, and everyone cheered for him. I want to be with those guys. Maybe I have to murder somebody too. Let me go murder this guy. All right, nobody cheered. Okay.
I'll murder someone else.
What about this guy? Okay, that guy laughed. Okay, I'm getting better. And that's the culture bred that, essentially, is you kept having to one up and be humorously an asshole. And unfortunately, that was what we got.
I mean, we used to joke about the escalation game a lot at Mystic Glade, and that's exactly the mentality.
Yeah. I mean, like, everyone has the jokes and the stories like, oh, I'd get banned for if I did blah, blah, blah. We've stabbed people, like with the arrow story.
Yeah.
I've stabbed Zeb with a screwdriver in a fight.
Tie-Dye stabbed me with a fork.
She actually had a shield cover that was a bloody fork.
Yeah, but she stabbed one of the twins for that one because it was over hot chocolate or something like that.
She stabbed a lot of people with forks.
Yeah.
She stabbed Jay with a fireplace poker, an entire fireplace poker.
That was
it was again, like I end up saying this a whole lot, but that was a very unique time in Amtgard that all of that was happening.
It was a bad time. You don't have to like unique, special. No, it was a bad time.
Most of us were young and stupid and still riding on our parents' insurance, so it was kind of whatever.
Yeah, it goes back
100%.
Yeah, having to pay a bill to fix my knee that was because I wasn't on my parents' insurance at that point. That was literally had 5 figures in it. It was a real shocker.
Yeah, like the doctor didn't even give you the option to just not walk anymore. What the fuck? Yeah. I can't afford this shit.
But yeah, so I think what we take away from this, though, especially looking at the way that things are being done now, is I don't want to be cheesy here, but this is a really good line that kind of sums it up. All it takes for bad things to succeed is for good people to do nothing. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we did. Instead of challenging that system and saying, absolutely not, you guys are jerks, we're not going to be a part of that. I saw it and said, I want to be really good. I guess I'll do these things. Other people, I know, did the same. You were kind of telling the same story there that you said, well, I want to be good, and so I'm going to try and impress these people. Be stronger than that. Character comes in small pieces and can be lost in huge chunks.
Yes, and more on that. The reason why it changed, I'm going to go ahead and blanket statement. Everybody who plays this game has some kind of social disorder, some kind of, if they miss social cues, can't read a room at the bit, or even much more severe.
Depression,
anxiety,
a lot of things.
All of that. Right. So everyone is operating on a different level.
Yeah.
And so where it started to shift was some of the people in that quote unquote good old boys club got tired of it, started to drop out of it, and actively push to make a change. Jeff being one of them, like he's a maniacal asshole, but mostly to his friends.
No, I would never do anything like that.
Oh, he has ratted
He's
me
an
out.
instigator.
No, he's an enabler.
No, not me.
Teflon?
I would never be an instigator. These are slanderous lies.
Teflon.
Shut your mouth.
Teflon is my squire is one of those people who, two people will be get into an argument over which color purple is the correct color, and Teflon will lean in and go, I don't know if that even really looks purple at all. It kind of looks like it has a little bit of this color mixed in, and then he will go to a different room and watch the horrible fireworks.
This literally happened, right? So we were at an apartment that Sarah had at the time. Lucas was there and Bunch was there, and I don't remember who else because it doesn't matter at this point. Yeah. So I don't remember how it exactly started, but what happened is that I told Bunch I could hit him as hard as I can and then run away, and he would get mad and then punch Lucas. And I literally did that, ran away, Bunch shrugs, and then slaps the shit out of Lucas.
That was you?
Yeah, that was
fucker.
That was totally me.
It's always Jeff. Always. But yeah, so with stuff like that, Jeff finally took a step back. He's never been the evil against unknown players. He's just evil to his friends.
Sure, and that's a different dynamic. If your friends have we escalate and let's roll and do BJJ and we'll punch each other. Hey, cool for your friend group. But you got to be able to realize that the people that aren't in your friend group yet may not appreciate that.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I probably would have been if I didn't have like a minor social anxiety type things or something like that, right? Because I was definitely doing that kind of stuff with my friends, but and I wanted to be, because I was again like 15, 16, something like that. I didn't have that real understanding of consequences and stuff like that in social aspects, right? So I was still trying to be part of the cool kids, but my version of trying to be part of the cool kids was mostly fucking with everyone that was my friends, because I didn't want to branch out. I didn't know how to branch out.
Yep.
Yeah, and here's another point too to kind of wrap that up that I'm not sure a lot of people consider. I know that at the time I didn't consider. I really didn't start focusing in on it until I was an adult. Your brain is still developing until you're in your mid-20s. Doesn't mean that you can't learn, but it becomes harder to learn new complex skills like playing piano and stuff like that after that.
I think self-actualization becomes more readily available in mid-20s or so than it is when you're younger. It's harder to do. Some people can do it, but I was definitely not one of them.
I wasn't either. But
I still can't read.
So your
Rule book, who?
Your the way that you are treating what I'm going to call the majority of AmpGuard. I think that the majority of AmpGuard is probably teens or early to mid-20s.
It was then, at least. I don't think that's true now, though.
You think? That
I think it's mid-20s is the more average age, but that would be actually a cool demographic or whatever to find out, to be honest.
Yeah, the way that you are socially interacting with these people is influencing how they see the world in a lot of ways. As you get older and you're stepping into these leadership roles, and you need to remember that you were that annoying kid at one point too. I don't want to beat this point to death, but we kind of got to talking about some of the problems that Mystic Glade and Sleeping Dragon were facing, and really, if I look back on it now, a lot of, not all of it, because there were some real problems going on there, right? But
yes.
I think that some portion of it could be summed up by saying that Mystic Glade in general was made up of people that were older, where Sleeping Dragon had a lot of people that were right around high school or getting out of high school age, or just been out of high school for a couple of years age.
Would you agree that roughly 2 to 3 years younger than Mystic Glade on average?
Easily.
If not more. Yeah. And it was kind of the older kids comparing their younger, trying to have their younger brothers be compared by the same standards and measuring stick that they are. And I think that's something to keep in mind when you're when you're looking at your social interactions in UpGuard. It's easy to forget, especially when you're dealing with, as an older person now, dealing with that block of people that are all around that age. They're all the same to me.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that. I hate to generalize, but it is. It's just the way that the world works sometimes, right? And so patience. I think if I could go back in time and coach my younger self through all of this, I would say if you just were a little bit more patient and listened a little bit better.
I just go back and kick my ass.
Yeah, I mean,
because I mean, so Teflon talked about this earlier, but 50 people, a minimum 50 people between all 4 of the different splinter parks that all split off because they didn't like how person A was treating person B, or person C said something about person A, or something else was going on there. I mean, every park has problems. You don't have to be best friends with everyone at the park, but what makes those big parks able to work is that because they still have cliques, they still have everything else going on there. You're able to find some common ground, and that common ground normally comes in the form of, I want to have a whole lot of people out to play UpGuard with because that sounds awesome. How do we make that work? If you're the classic stick jock, then let's do some battle games and things like that. If you're not that stick jock, if you're the person that is more interested in doing full on role play, what kind of fighting could you do? Would you be interested in doing? If you're a non-combatant, which was something that Mystic Glade just completely destroyed, pushed away.
We were horrible about it. It was the whole terrible blanket bunny name and things like that too. Like, it was just not great. We just didn't understand, to be honest. At least I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't understand how hurtful I think that we could, where we look at some of the other parks like Sleepy Dragon, who was able to get so much. What did they do? A lot of non-coms there. And maybe not supportive of them, but not detrimental.
Correct.
To them, right? Yeah, I think that is something that every park will face as your park grows, regardless of its size now or how big or small it was in the past. You are going to run into situations where something happens and you've got to decide how you're going to move past it. You're going to run into a situation where a fight breaks out or some ideologies mix, or you're just going to run into a situation where someone joins your park and doesn't have a great attitude.
And even, well, not to that bad attitude, but like for the different philosophies of how the park runs and stuff, that's really healthy overall, as long as you do it in a healthy way and not like some, like, I'm better than you, haha. But like if you're electing different monarchs and stuff like that, that is a really healthy thing. Like we saw, I think Neverwinter go through that when Barry stopped playing the game.
Yeah, it was... So brief backstory there, since this is an aside to an aside to an aside that we were talking about.
It's just asides all the way down.
Yeah, that's the name of this episode. No. Cabbage doesn't let me name episodes anymore.
No, because this is coming out on Christmas. It's going to be Subway in a Manger.
Ho, ho, ho. Subway.
Nope, no singing. Nope.
Okay.
Copyright something. I just don't want it.
He doesn't want to have to cite it on YouTube. That's what it is. The thank you YouTube algorithm.
Yeah.
The kingdom that we came from had 2 large political parties. It's not important to know all of the names involved, but the leader of one of the big political parties ended up getting ill, and when he got ill, it collapsed. The party that he represented in the kingdom kind of collapsed, and. We were doing some behind the scenes talking there. The party that this person B represented kind of fell apart when he wasn't there because he had become sick, and person A's political party took over the kingdom. Now, on its face, that wasn't a huge problem at the time because person A and person B were both working towards things to better the game. Both of them would sit down and talk when they disagreed, which they did very often, about how they could move forward with this. But with only one political party left in the kingdom now, and the other political factions in the kingdom not large enough to really impact change. This meant that that single party took over everything, running the events, running for office, running all of the things. And it diminished the kingdom, that you started losing people. You didn't have any kind of balancing force there anymore. And I remember very clearly an event that we went down to there where it was at its worst, where my 15 passenger van came down with 10 or 11 people, and I think that there was about 20 people total at the event.
Jesus.
Yep.
It was really sad because when we first went down to this kingdom, there was 200 people in a battle game. It was enormous. One single park, the park that Kazan came from. On our first episode, he would talk about all of the people that were just at Darkwater East. Darkwater East would go out and they would be fielding 80 people alone. Mm-hmm. And you had other parks there. Falling Fire had a lot of people, 20, 30, a lot of big parks down there, and all of it just started to go away. And talking to some of the people that were involved, this is one of those things where when you're living through it at the time, it's hard to see. I don't think that at those ages you're capable of the introspection that it takes to say, in this moment right now, I am doing something that is not my best move, right?
Right.
But talking to those people now who lived through that and then saying, yeah, I wish I could go kick my younger self for all of these things. It wasn't just the collapse of the political system in the kingdom that caused it. It was the fact that other political system was where all of the people that were not the physical titans, the ones that were pushing for their sword belt and always wanted to do the crazy competitive stuff, that's where all of them lived.
Right.
The other political party was the super accepting party. And they had one person who was a very clear and vocal voice for them. And when that voice got lost, not the political party, but just people speaking up, that's really what took us down to that one single event at the camp when we showed up and we realized that, this was the kingdom may be gone. This might be it.
Man, that's sad.
Yeah, we brought the event.
Yeah, you brought half the event with you in a van, and it's just like, yep, we're here.
Yep. They have recovered, but they recovered by rebuilding those bridges, by getting some old people back out. I know that for quite some time there, I haven't been down to an Everwinter event in a while, but I know for quite some time, they actually had sections where role play was taking place, where when you were walking through there, you could do you put the hand on your head or something like that to signal that you're completely out of character.
Yeah.
Because you might just have to pass through there for something, right?
Yeah.
And it was fun stuff too. It's like they have a tavern, and the tavern has, I don't know if they were allowed to serve alcohol, but it has, hot mulled cider and food and all of these other things where, it's a really natural thing. And there's other fighty questy things going on that you can get from the tavern and stuff like that. Small steps to rebuild, but it takes so much longer to repair and rebuild relationships like that than it does just to put in the work to keep them to begin with.
Well, so speaking of rebuilding, although this maybe isn't directly related, kind of going forward, let's talk about, so we've gotten your backstory, quite a bit of it at least.
Yeah. And the park conflict and all of the crazy things that happened when you were younger.
Right. Yeah. So we've gotten quite a bit of that. I want to know about what you're doing now and what your plans are, post-COVID, a year in the future, 5 years in the future, whatever, with Amthgard. What does this go for you?
Well,
because I know you are belted to Sir Shalazar.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So generically, what I would like to do, the backstory is there to give the audience the understanding of,
right,
I was a asshole back then.
And
I still am, if I'm being that's my social hang up, is I'm a hard pill to swallow. That with everything that's been going on, all the mistakes you make, I can look back and go, yep, that was wrong. I still look back on it fondly as I stab the guy. Yeah. But where we're at now, I've seen, because we split socially from a lot of the quote unquote toxic players, the attitude, mostly the attitudes, not the players, but just that. And that's an uphill battle. And so that is something that a lot of us continue to fight against, because it's not a person. It's a trend. It's a disorder, essentially, of I always have to prove myself. I always have to be the best. And then they become combative.
Right.
Then they get aggressive. And then they start popping off at the mouth and running people off. That's not a person. That's a lot of people in all
That's
aspects.
something that we as a game have to be okay with to thrive.
Yeah, well, also, it's not, even if it is just a person, it's everyone else not stepping up and, you know, putting that person down, either through a ban or talking to them or whatever you need to do to stop that toxic behavior.
Correct. And so that was looking back then on what we had numbers-wise, game-wise, fun-wise, it's easy to miss that. Like, I want that back.
Yeah, like, I don't want to say I had more fun back then, but I don't know if I'll go back to the more modern AmpGuard that I'm playing and remember it quite as fondly as I did then. But I don't know if that's just like a childhood thing or like a nostalgia thing or something. But yeah.
And because of it, I will say I had more fun back then. Because
9/11 may have had something to do with it.
Fair.
No.
This just got dark.
Oh, fuck off.
Mute him. So what we're attempting to do now, or what I would like to do now, is focus on those issues. In a sense, I'm not anywhere near as active as I was, getting burnt out, being an old timer.
Having kids.
A family guy. I've went through 2 wives. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. And then 2 kids. Kids are great. Right now they're 11 and 12. They know more than I do. And they like to test me on everything. So that's fun. But no, life happens. You mature, you get old, and you let things go. And that's kind of where a lot of us are at, is like, we had something to prove. Yeah, fat too. Yes, definitely a lot fatter than I was. I had something to prove. I wanted to be number 1, always. But we dress funny and throw foam. Why? Like, I'm number 1. No one in the real world cares. Like, you can't. I'm not putting on the resume that I won the tournament. No one cares.
Yeah.
Well, so you've been doing a lot of work, and this kind of ties back into some of the very first stuff you did, where you've been doing a lot of work on shields. You said you've made 9, 10 prototypes this year or something?
Yeah, that's just me and my own little Twitch. I like making things.
Well, yeah, I know, but like, are you trying to create like a replicable technology that's super cheap and easy to get to everyone, or like what does that look like for you?
Yes, generically. Thank you for just randomly throwing that out there. I was going with the social aspect, but yeah.
Well, you know, I mean,
I want to be the budget AmpGuarder. Like, I've always made things. My former Zeb had amazing tech. He learned from some of the best, Stinkfoot, all that. He used to pump out swords like a champion. Like, he would literally, like, Max would provide cores for the entire kingdom.
I remember that. Yeah, he'd come
Zeb
up with...
would make the swords for the entire...
Max is Gillen's page.
Man-at-Arms.
Sorry.
Yeah, he fought to get that. Respect that. Max
is Gillen's man-at-arms, and this is important because while this was taking place, you were Gillen's squire.
Oh, yeah. Max he was ready to fight me for it. It was awesome.
Max is one of the best, like, for the game in the sense of like bringing things for other people and not
selfless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally
That's
selfless.
The word I'm looking for.
Great attitude.
Literally had the hand in the core for all of Winter's Edge, probably, or close to all of Winter's Edge for like 3 years. He brought, no joke, hundreds of cores up at one point.
I remember. I remember at our first coronation ever, Max had gotten 300 plus cores, and Zeb Gillen did a sword making class where all of the materials were donated, the foam, the tape, everything. And
I actually think it was Chunk who did the class, but maybe they both did, because I remember Chunk hitting himself in the head. And why you make pommels first, that's who I learned it from.
Yeah, because his tape broke and he Jan Brady'd himself. But yeah, all of that was mech. So super great guy. You were in the same belted line at this point. So Zeb was pumping out some really great stuff.
Oh yeah. So his craftsmanship when it came to that was phenomenal. So I've always liked making things. Just chainmail stuff. I've done that, armor, and just weapons.
I remember that you were working recently. I stopped by your house. You had this idea that you wanted to make a belt for AmpGuard, but instead of just doing one of the traditional belts, because that would be too easy for you, your challenge was making one out of one single piece of rope. So everything, instead of being sectioned off and woven together, it's all woven from a single piece. It's so cool.
Yeah. So going to that, I'm trying to, back then, cores were super easy to get. Fun Noodle was legal at the time. It fit the specs. So budgetary, nice and easy. You could play our game with $5. Now, not so much. Fun Noodle went out the door. There's just not enough readily available. And there's been a plethora of really good sites. You can order swords, shields, you name it. My personal
for $70
opinion,
a piece,
it's way too expensive. Now, for what it's actually worth, no, because the time, the research, the energy, I'm not saying they're overcharging. I'm saying I'm not spending that much money when I myself could just make something myself.
Right.
Where, as an example with Zeb, they just start buying because they don't like their time versus their money. It's easier to just give up the money, buy the gear, and know it works.
Right.
I have tried through just random tech to become the Walmart amp guarder.
Great value amp guard.
Yeah, great value.
Yeah.
Is that if you can go to a Lowe's or Home Depot, and if you can go to a Walmart, which I'm going to assume every single person in this game has access to that.
Right.
That you can create everything you ever need as far as gear, garb, everything. So with that particular belt, it's a ring you can buy and just a nylon cord. I think it was 50 feet or 75, single paracord weave. So it's just, you don't have to cut, you don't have to learn to weave. You're literally just knots and knots and knots and knots and knots, and you have a belt.
Right.
It cost $5-ish minus tax and whatever for your area.
Yeah. Right. And for comparison, I mean, I've recently gotten into doing belts. I finished one for Cabbage, my man at arms. I'm going to start working on Teflons whenever he sends me his fucking belt measurement.
No.
But
it's about this big.
Yeah, right. Thanks. But just for comparison, I mean, I think Cabbage is reaching down to get one of my rolls. I go to Paracord Planet to get mine, and I think that it's about $48 for a roll. Oh no, are we gonna?
We're getting his measurements. Shut up.
I can't describe what I'm seeing. I don't think that it's.
Whoa! Don't touch there.
Yeah, that's not the belt. The
44 inches. There you go.
Okay, but that doesn't count for the. We'll do this once we're off the air. But put it, please.
This is great podcasting.
Yeah, put it down.
Does it not?
It went limp. I'm not surprised.
Your measuring tape sucks. I'm sorry.
So
no, it's a good measuring tape. That's the problem.
The budget Walmart, the budget amp garter Walmarter. I think that something like that is people.
Walmarter.
We should start up a site called People of AmpGuard.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's cruel.
I think that's really a really cool approach. I know that you've had a focus recently on trying to kind of push and motivate your friends towards activities that will help get them a belt.
Yep.
You've been doing quite a bit of fighting coaching with people. You were one of the big. Lucas and I, Cabbage and I, had been tossing around the idea of this podcast for quite some time, and you were the one that were finally like, COVID's going on. What the fuck else are you going to do? What are you waiting for?
Do it.
Yeah, I mean, for all your talk of having been an asshole, you're actually maybe a pusher is the wrong word, but you encourage people to do things that are good for them in this game. So I didn't know, how much that plays into the tech you're making or whatever it is that you do generally.
Yeah, primarily what I'm wanting to achieve, what I've learned from my past asshole self. I'm still an asshole, but I'm a different kind.
Yeah.
That trying to be number one I can say back in my prime, I can selfishly put my crown on my head and go, yep, I was number one. I was monarchy supreme. I was champion tournament man extraordinaire. And it didn't do anything. Like, in the end, it doesn't matter at all.
Right.
And then over the years, I've watched my friends grow up in the game and then leave the game for whatever reason. And towards the end, a lot of it was burnout. It was, they're not getting recognized. There was a lot of flack from others. They believe one thing, and so this group of people believes another, and they shame them out of the game.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that at all. So I started essentially championing my friends. And so I like to joke where you had said before, like the evil cabals and the puppet masters of the game, like they're not real. Like that's not a real thing. I am a puppet master for good. I like to have my hands just pushing all of my friends. That is how I win the game of Amp-Guard. All of my friends I grew up with, almost. There's a few left, that guy right there, and others who are easily up-and-comers, those two over there, they'll get their belts. The others that still need some push along the way, we'll get them there. But all of my other friends have belts. They have the titles. They have the recognition that they deserve. That's what the game is for me now, is I can sit back. If I quit, if I stop playing right now, I feel good about the game because I see where my friends on their own talent, I just clapped. I'm like, yeah, you did a good job. That's the extent of what I do. But watching them grow, mature, and achieve, and then get recognized is fantastic. So that kind of culture is what I would essentially like to push more. Like we're trying to travel more, getting to see newer parks, like the Buccaneers or Spite.
Yeah.
Respite.
I think it's Respite, but I'm not 100%.
Yeah, well,
Ruben, you follow us on Facebook. Just to let us know, man.
Super cool guys. Like I felt like those dudes, I felt very reminiscent of the Sleepy Dragon days of like, you know what? They're not like top of the line. They've got the tech, they've got the gear. They're
just not exposed is some of it too.
Yeah. Like they showed up to have a good time. We rolled in and they had an archer barrage for us. Like they were ready to shoot us before we even got out.
Pointed at my fucking Honda.
Like that's great.
That's
and
awesome.
I think given like another year or two of growth in that park will be one of the premier, like as far as tech and quality of fighters and everything else goes.
Yeah.
They're
Buccaneers Respite, if you're listening to this,
Ruben does.
Hi, buddy.
Yeah, I know that we spent a lot of this, a lot of the Subway episode here, kind of focusing on the dynamics of having different parks and the way that cultures have changed and things like that. If I can give one piece of advice to all of Buccaneers Respite, keep that. Keep the thing of just coming out to have fun. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about everyone else. Just be able to have fun when you come out. Do whatever's fun for your park and fuck everybody else.
Exactly. Because who are we? Like if I'm the one who's like, oh well, I'm in the Subway, I've got all the. What do they care? Who am I? What does it matter for me? Did they show up on a weekly or bi-weekly basis? Did they have fun? Yes, they did.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if I come in like, well, you're doing it wrong. How dare you do it that way? If I were doing it, well, who cares? They had a good time.
Yeah,
we had a good time. Like, so for as much as we know of the game, they still showed us new games, new experiences, and we had a blast when we were there.
Good for you. Good for you, Buccaneers Respite. You keep it up. Also, if you haven't officially joined the Kingdom yet, officially join the Kingdom too.
Yeah, mostly that one.
I'm schmoozing them, man. It's they're waiting for the right timing. COVID has sort of thrown everything off, and their numbers are not maybe exactly where they need to be.
The time is right now.
That sounds like to me, but
yeah.
The time is right now. What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Well, listen, man. I really appreciate it. I want to. You know the format that we normally do.
Yep.
So we tried to end on a fun or funny story, and I think we're coming somewhere close to time.
We're in 40 minutes, yeah.
So what are some fun or funny, memorable stories that you have?
I have a lot of those. And that's kind of the point of all, like, you get to share the stories, be the stories. Everyone has those stories, and that's what's wonderful about them. A lot of what we know are not necessarily AmpGuard specific. Like, I was in a battle game and I shot that guy with an arrow that one time. But it's the stories you have with your friends, the engagement that you get to meet new people or get to experience that.
Yeah.
I would probably say the safest story that I would like to share is Lexi. I would like to get her view on it because I can't remember how it started. But for the past decade-ish, we've been engaged in an arms war of what started as a food fight to just like tavern brawls.
Yeah.
You all right there, bud?
No, I've seen a few of these happen, and I didn't realize it was a persistent thing.
Oh man, it's a long-term thing.
Yes. So again, Lexi is a fantastic human being in so many ways, but she's scary. My experience with her.
Is it grilled cheese time?
Oh, that's part of it. Ugh. God. Ugh. So my real experience with Lexi, at the time, she was one of the 14-year-old little kids. So I'm swinging swords, big giant camp pad, whatevers. And then there's Lexi. Lexi actually had a real shield at this point. So she was good because of just the gear she had. And she was legged. We were playing on a hill. She went sliding down on her knees, came down the hill. So what was going to be a hip shot became a face shot. And I just punched her square in the face. So she went down and then popped up and was laughing. And I knew something was wrong. Just something about her's off. So we'll continue to go through it. And I cannot remember the thing that started it. I'm going to assume me punching her in the face is the start. I don't believe
I think
it
that's
is.
a good one.
Yeah. So after that, it would just slowly escalate. I would give her a hard time. Jeff is always, I mean, they're married at this, like, I wonder why that happened. But prior to their marriage, Jeff was always there, not because he liked her or me, but because, like you said, like, is it purple? I don't know. Is it purple? He's an instigator.
Yeah.
Oh, I know where this one's going now.
So almost every event, regardless of where it is, what we were doing, it would somehow escalate into, Lexi would say something accurately about me, and I would take offense. I would say something smart to her. She would flip me off or something like that. Jeff would then slowly slide something onto the table between us, and then that person would get hit by it. So I think it started with just basic stuff. Like, it was a hot dog at a lunch, and it had some, like, we had beans and chili, and she said something. I'm like, Oh, Jeff handed me the spoon with beans. So I just threw beans all over Lexi.
Rufio. Yes. Rufio.
And so she was upset by that, but then it would continue to progress. She would... perhaps you would like to tell the grilled cheese aspect of it, Jeff?
So Lexi, I think this was the event that she made feast for. Like, or near it anyway. Yeah. She was sleep deprived completely, and a sleep deprived Lexi is one of the best things for AmpGuard. Not gonna lie,
She's things for Jay.
Very delirious. Yes, very bad things for Jay. Delirious, and it's great. So we were just hanging out in the feast hall, and there was probably 8 of us. I know Chops was there, me, Jay, Flo, maybe? Yeah, Flo was there. And then we were hungry. I don't remember exactly how that started, but we decided we wanted food. I think we were promised grilled cheese for the Traveler's Feast or something like that. And then that was on Cade and or Kazan to make or something. I don't remember exactly.
No, Cade was a superhero because it was supposed to be made. I think we missed it, and we were very whiny, and Cade got tired of us whining and went into the kitchen.
Shout out to Cade, good guy.
Oh, those grilled, they were the best.
They were the best grilled cheeses of all time.
So yeah, he just made us food.
So he makes them, and because we're whiny, and he made, I don't know, probably 5 of them. And like I said, there's like 8 or 10 of us sitting around. So, slim pickings. So he brings them to us nuclear hot and sets the stack of them on the table. And so Lexi is delirious and really hungry at the same time, right? Prior to this, somehow or another, she got a stick with like a nail or screw in it, and it was waving it around very quote unquote dangerously. I don't see any danger to it.
I did.
Quote unquote dangerously. It's a stick with a nail in it.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I don't remember. There's some other thing. Chops tells it pretty well because he was very scared at the time. It was great. But at this point, Jay's like, I have to get a sandwich before Lexi. I'm going to keep Lexi away from getting sandwiches, I think is where your head was at, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he dives in both hands, but he splits a grilled cheese sandwich with one of his hands, and he is getting literally burned. And then
it was fresh.
And he like picks his hand up, and it's like, bread, cheese, hand, other side of bread and cheese. And Lexi grabs it and just pulls it off his hand while it's burning and eats it.
Yep. She was gone. At that point, my hand was scalded. She told me to suck it up because she was happy at that point. She had the hand sandwich. But we would continue at that point. I think later on she threw one of the sandwiches at me at that stage.
I'm sure it's something along those lines.
So then next I'm trying to plan. So this is a future event.
Again, this is where the egg happens, isn't it?
Yeah. So Jeff, why am I friends with you? Exactly. I don't get it. So it's a Halloween event. It's not specifically, well, there's like a quest-ish. It just happened to fall around.
Somewhat themed, yeah.
So the lanterns were doing like a breakfast feast, I think, or something.
Yeah.
We needed eggs. Lots of eggs. Oh, we ran out of eggs. Quick, to the store. Jeff, come with me. We go to the store. We get the eggs. And I go, I'm going to egg Lexi. This will be hilarious. Jeff, I believe you guys were dating at this point.
Yeah.
Like, Jeff, do you have a problem with me pelting your girlfriend with eggs?
Absolutely
You're
not.
like, that's the best thing ever.
It'll be really funny.
What a great idea. So I'm thinking I've got it. Perfect plan. Here we go. So we make we're running out of eggs. Okay, I grab one egg.
But to preface this egg, I don't remember if we put them in the freezer or something like that, right?
So I grabbed that one egg and I told everyone in the kitchen, this one's mine.
Oh, that's how that happened. I was unsure where that started. Okay.
Like, you're not allowed to use this. This one's special. And they're like, why? You can't know. I'm like, okay, whatever, Jay. Well, I had to hide it, so I put it in the freezer. So now it's court time. They're doing whatever. I'm like, this is the time.
I think Lexi was regent or something. She was at head table, I think.
Well, yeah. So it would have been a very big public egging. Well, I pull it out of the freezer, and again, I said before, I can't read. I didn't know how freezers work. So I got the egg, and I went, oh no, I can't throw this at Lexi. This will kill her.
It's a baseball at this point.
Yeah.
And then she died, Your Honor.
So I go over, and I'm like, Jeff, look. Bang, bang, bang. Jeff nods. He's like, yeah. I'm like, no.
My squire, ladies and gentlemen.
So for the rest of court, I'm literally sitting on this egg, trying to thaw it out. I'm like, okay, we can do this. But court's now finishing. Now's my chance. Bang, bang. Nope. I would like
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff's like, yeah. Like, now, get her now. I'm like, no. So I got to wait. So we go out. They had a campfire. I'm like, okay. So I'm palming the egg towards the campfire, trying to thaw this thing out.
You're hard boiling the motherfucker.
Yeah, like, I'm not a bright boy. I never said I was good at this, but I'm like, I've got to get her. So I finally get it so it won't kill her. And I'm like, all right, Jeff, we're going in. So Jeff's on the other side. Yeah. It's like I walk over, I'm like, all right, I got her. Pow! And I just slap her on top of the head. And I run because I'm a coward. So Lexi, in her mind, she's like, damn it, Jay, what is that? As it's slowly running down, she's like, oh, God. Well, brand new to the triad. I am not in the triads. Jeff, were you in the triads at this stage? I think you were.
Did I? I don't remember if I was in before you or not. I can't remember.
No, we got in at the same time, but I left before you. I think you were still in.
I think yes, I was in that time.
So Hosh enters the story. Hosh is a brand new triad. Now this is fresh young puppy Hosh.
It's not changed
as opposed to puppy Hosh now.
That's fair. But one of the triad in the triad rule book, what is it? 4.3, back the bros played.
Yeah. We have numbered rules. He's not kidding.
Yeah. So Hosh backs the play. Hosh does not know me. I've never met this fine, stocky, able to bench press me gentleman.
I believe I had a small hand in that doing.
He had more than a small hand in that.
He double fisted that thing. So Hosh, who doesn't know the situation or me, sees his company bro get slapped in the head by something, and then this goobery guy run away real fast, cackling maniacally. Well, he's got to back the bros play. He's got to defend the honor. So he takes off after me. Zeb, I think he just likes hurting me, goes like, time to hurt Jay. He runs off. I'm getting bum rushed. Jeff knows where I'm going, heads me off at the pass. So now we are in the kitchen.
You fucker.
Oh, yeah. And the whole time he's like, he's in here. He's in here.
So we get into the kitchen as now I'm wrestling Hosh, who is easily twice my size.
He's very strong.
Zeb, and now Jeff, because Jeff's like, ooh, he starts bringing in the trash can. He's like, guys, put him in the trash can. It's like, go away. At this point, the one thing my odd superpower is I can just be the sweatiest, grossest guy ever. Yeah. You can't keep your hands on me. So
Hosh can bend rebar with his bare hands, and he can't keep a hold of Jay at this point.
I survived Gunn. Gunn could not beat me in a wrestling match because he couldn't hold on. I just kept shooting out in different angles.
It's like a cartoon.
Yeah,
Whoop, whoop.
Exactly. So Hosh has me by the legs. Zeb's got me by the arms. Jeff is playing trash can duty, and they're trying to scoop me into the trash can. Flo is accidentally there. He's like
accidentally.
He just wanders into the kitchen. He's like, he's
legit. I'm pretty
food.
sure he was accidentally there, like 100%.
I wasn't privy to the egg smashing. I wasn't privy to the chase. The jolly romp around the camp or whatever it was that happened.
Yep.
And I didn't know that everyone had ran into the kitchen. I came into the kitchen because there was still milk from Feast, and I was going to steal a glass when no one was looking.
Yep. So he was there. I'm struggling against 3 grown men trying to put me into a trash can. They never got me in. But I'm flailing, and I kick at Flo, and it got really close. Flo angrily looks at me. Jay, did you just kick me? Like, no, sir. No, sir. I did not. I see you've got a glass of milk. Did you know there's cake over there? Angry face turns into happy face. Cake. We've got cake like, right over. I'm still struggling, flailing, trying not to go in the trash can.
3 people trying to pick him up. And
this is literally no exaggeration. That 100% happened.
And I turned away from the 3 people struggling to stick my sweaty friend into a trash can and walked over and got some cake to go with my milk.
Yep, like, bye, Jay. Like, bye, Flo. Because if Flo joined in, I was doomed. So we're still struggling. And then all of a sudden, I see stars. It's just whop. What? Lexi joined the fight.
Oh, no.
So,
yeah.
In her mind, because when we're both sleep deprived, that's just how we exist. Physics don't apply. So she grabbed a metal spoon and scooped a giant blob of butter.
It was so big of a blob.
Like fist size. So in her mind, she is going to swing this to fling the butter at my head. No, she missed. I got hit with a metal spoon that had butter on it.
That's just mass at that point.
Yeah. So like, dunk. And I just feel my brains essentially like, what is that? So Zeb and Hosh both drop me because they're like, that's assault.
We did a crime.
We got to get out of here.
It's illegal now.
Jeff, again, he just grabs a trash can maniacally, like shifts over to the side to watch. I turn to Lexi and she's like, that didn't work out as I planned. And honest to God, Max, again, the most lovable, kind soul. I love this man. He's there, I guess, to defend or help me.
I'm sure he was actually doing dishes at the time.
Yeah,
Are we sure he didn't have some English muffins in the fridge that he was going to get?
Possibly. But either way, he's like, Jay, you got here. And so I'm talking to Lexi and we're like, okay, this is kind of getting out of hand. Should we stop doing this? And she's like, probably, because that was pretty severe.
No.
Scoop. Max? Are you spooning butter off of my head? Yeah, I'm trying to get it off. The kind soul that he is has a spoon and a paper towel and is taking spoonfuls of butter, just scraping it off my dome.
Because there was a lot of it got all over the side of his head. It got in his ear.
Yeah, I couldn't hear out of that side of so and I'm just like, dude. I looked at Lexi. She's like, all right, yeah, we should probably stop. This is getting out of hand. We've done something since. I can't remember what.
I don't remember either.
But it definitely wasn't as severe as that. So yeah, that's my random amp guard story.
So as an aside, we did have showers at that event, but there was no heat for the showers. So I don't remember if Jay actually showered for that or not, but Lexi 100% did not. She went to bed with egg in her hair.
Well,
I went to bed with butter on my head.
Yeah, because both of you were already severely sleep. Anyone that's ever done feasts and things like that at an event can kind of identify here, but severely sleep deprived. Yeah, that was a good time. While all of that was going on, while you guys were fighting, talking, Max was cleaning your ears out, I was eating cake. It was wonderful.
You were as happy as could be.
It was good. I don't even remember where the cake came from.
You know what? It saved my life.
I have to think it was Sarah's or something.
Oh yeah, I just stole it from her.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you talked about being an asshole. I want to share a story with you. And I think that I've shared this on the podcast before, so I'm not going to retell the whole thing. But in 2006, we were coming back from watching My Night Get Knighted in Texas. And so in the car is me, the girl I'm dating at the time, Bearsuit, you, and Sir Gillen in the back. On the way back, now Texas, for those that don't know, is full of armadillos. I'm sure that there's other life forms there, but it's just absolutely packed. And we're driving at night, so they've come out to like get on the road to absorb some heat or something. And we see one on the road. Bearsuit's driving at the time. She is super animal sensitive. She loves all of the cats and dogs and squirrels and birds and everything else, right? And so we have enough time, because Texas is just forever. We have enough time for her to go, oh my god, what do I do? Just straddle the armadillo. It'll be fine. Just because we were in an Echo that has high clearance, and
it wasn't the Echo. It was a passenger van, right?
No, we were in the Echo at the time.
Oh shit! Okay,
I had a Toyota Echo, and so we just straddle it. It'll be fine, dear. It'll pass right underneath the car. It waits until we're about 5 feet in front of it, and we finally notice it's kind of coiled up like a spring, and boom, the whole thing just pops up into the air. And we're doing, because she sped up because she wants to get past it quicker. So she hits this armadillo doing, I'm going to say 80 miles an hour, and it explodes. Pieces of armadillo shell go everywhere. Armadillo bits go everywhere. And Katie holds it together for about 5 seconds. That's Bearsuit, holds it together for about 5 seconds. Blah! And it's like a cartoon. There are tears just streaming up in little rainbow arcs around her. And I talked to her for almost 15 minutes. To trying to calm her down. I'm sweetie, it's okay. You didn't mean to. There's nothing that you could do. I mean, we can't go off to either side of the road. We did the best that we could. And who knew that armadillos jumped? And she's finally starting to get her shit back together. And she says, kind of is like this last little bit that she needs. Do you think that it... I'm okay. I said, okay. She said, do you think that it felt anything right before it went, or do you think that we were going so fast? And Jay interrupts from the back seat and says, probably the bumper. And she immediately starts crying again. She cried for another 30 minutes.
I failed sensitivity training.
No shit.
What I'm worried about is this is you after passing sensitivity training.
2 wives for a reason.
But this was a whole lot of fun. Thank you so much. It was fun to have you on. We have been doing quite a bit of Out of Kingdom people, and by the time that this airs, we'll have a lot of exciting ones coming up, guys, which doesn't mean anything to you because you'll hear them first. But I love coming back and visiting someone that we've known for a long time, kind of having some goofy stories and things like that. Yeah, did you have something?
I apologize. I don't know how much time we have. I would like to share another story about that trip, briefly about murdering our friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah,
please do.
You do that. I have to pee, so I'm gonna just.
Yeah, you just Shalazar on out through there.
He broke the seal on that, and I'm gonna break the seal on this bottle of water.
Yeah. So when you have friends, when you make friends, you should be kind to them. You should love them, support them in any way. Currently, our culture is definitely pushing for that.
Yeah.
Back then, that's the disclaimer. We didn't. We like Jeff. I shouldn't be friends with Jeff. He has hurt me more times than I can remember. Flo also.
I don't hurt people.
You've put me in so many.
You make other people hurt people.
Yeah, probably.
So on that same trip to Texas, and it was an echo because that's how we broke it. We were in. So Katie's driving, Bearsuit's driving, Flo is riding shotgun. I have Sir Gillen, Zeb next to me. I'm in the back, and historically we used to take turns driving. We'd take shifts. He stopped doing that. His solution was, I'll give you money, and then I don't have to drive.
And we were all young and poor.
Yeah, so it worked out great. But it got to the point of like, all right, guys, I really can't. Can you take a... He would literally sleep through the entire trip.
It's his superpower.
So we were very upset by this. We drove however long, and we were hungry. So we swung off to get some food at a Popeyes. We did not have a Popeyes here at the time. So like, ooh, I've never eaten there. Let's go eat there. So we all decided to stop. He is passed out. He's not waking up. So I say, too bad. We go in. Flo, Bearsuit, and myself enjoy a very lovely meal at the Popeyes chicken in wherever we were. I don't know if we even made it to Texas at that point.
I don't remember either. I just remember that when we got out, it was, and I'm not exaggerating here, 103 degrees. I'd never been somewhere that it was actually 103 degrees.
Yep. Steam or the heat waves coming off of the parking lot pavement.
Yeah.
We left Zeb in the car.
With all the doors and windows shut and rolled up. Because, and we weren't even trying to be mean to him. We're just that thoughtless. Like, we really are just that thoughtless.
No, he while sleeping, snuggled up with me a bit too much, so I maliciously left him in the car. So as we are finishing our meal, we actually see the car door fly open, and while the heat waves are coming off of the pavement, almost fire comes out of the car.
Oh, yeah.
And he just pours himself out of the car.
He's a puddle.
Dripping sweat. He is dehydrated. He is miserable. He staggers in. We have our sweet teas at the ready. We're like, hey, buddy, you have a good nap? It's like, he couldn't even curse us. He could not talk. He's like, oh no, we're just leaving. Come on, get back in the car. We wouldn't do it. So we ended up watering the poor boy. We got him back to health.
Yeah, I think we sat there for almost like an hour and a half, 2 hours trying to, and that is one of the only times that Sir Gillen has been legit mad at us.
I mean, like the other time, I'm sure is the second time we did that to him.
Yeah, there's been a lot of times
again.
he's been really mad at me, so I can't say that. But yeah, be better to your friends, folks. That's what we're trying to get at. We are bad people, bad for our friends, really, but be better than us.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the story. That was a fun one. Watching him melt out of the car and then look over towards us in a haze, because he has no idea where he is. He sleeps so soundly that he didn't know that we had left the state. He didn't know that anything had happened. He went to sleep and woke up and thought, oh, they've just stopped at a gas station somewhere or something like that. So, but no, fun story. Thank you so much. It's fun to have you on.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Thank you to Vidalia for working on some art in the background for us there.
Yay.
I want to give a shout. It is nice. Yeah. I want to give a shout out here too. Vidalia has
looks just like me.
That has hair. That doesn't look like you. I want to give a shout out here too. Vidalia has been doing some art and has recently turned them into magnets. We're going to leave a link to that in the description, but they are baller. And everybody should own some of these magnets.
Especially Jeff's. It looks creepy.
It's true.
Excellent Christmas gift.
Yeah, just in time for the holidays.
Stocking stuffers.
Put them on all your enemies'
this episode
fridge.
is coming out on Christmas Day, so if you're hearing it now thinking, God, that'd be a good gift, you done fucked up. But, yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
You don't actually put links in any of them anyway. Like, oh, we'll put that in the link in the description. You have yet to do that.
Okay, so one of them I genuinely fucked up. This most recent one, the guy never sent me the links and the clarifications on them. I am still waiting. I am still left unread.
Do you hear excuses? I hear.
Oh, it's great. For the Dame Linden one, which will already have come out at this point, I actually have all the stuff put together, and the YouTube video is just waiting to premiere. Yeah, like the links are there.
Awesome.
So.
But thank you so much for joining us, guys. I wanted to give that shout out to Vidalia. Everyone should go buy those, but it'll already be Christmas, so it's too late. So I'm thinking New Year's gifts.
Yeah.
Cabbage, you want to go ahead and roll us out?
Nope, not at all. By the time this comes out, I will have recorded a new outro and a new intro for the podcast. So hope everybody enjoyed that and enjoys this outro.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or Spotify to get notified about new episodes. And make sure to follow us on Facebook for announcements and more.